So we are here with Mr. Fred Schultz. He is Mr. Paintball going from the 80s into the 90s into the early 2000s. I am honored to be sitting here with him and talking shop with him and getting to know him and this wonderful sport that we all love, which is paintball. And this big gorilla right here has been with him for a lot longer than me. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You guys are doing great.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
It's just how it is. Whenever you do something like this, there's always glitches.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, the whole point is we're trying to get paintball to grow even more than what we made it grow since the 80s. Okay?
Right.
So doing stuff like this absolutely does that. You know, it makes people more aware of it. I have been extremely lucky over the years in paintball. Not just for my sponsorship and the travels and everything, but the biggest thing to me was the people that I got to meet and the lives that actually touched me. So I've had a terrific time. I mean, guys like Dan Colby from Air America, Tim Schultz from Tiger Stripes Camo. Tim is probably the first guy that ever really took notice of me. And we were at a tournament, Jim Lively tournament, which Jim Lively is another terrific person. We were at a Jim Lively tournament back in Nashville, and we were playing, and he kept coming up to me, you know, and he kept going, "Oh, you guys are doing great, you're doing great," and he'd walk away, you know, and I kept going, who is this guy, you know? And come to find out, it was Tim Schultz, owner of Tiger Stripe Camouflage. So after that tournament, he came up to me and he goes, "You know what?" He says, "I'd like you guys wearing my camo." And that actually started my sponsorship with the larger sponsors, which really was pretty good. It made me feel good.
Now, there's a rumor out there that you had a tiger stripe tuxedo?
Absolutely, I still have it actually. There was a special team for him called the Muffs, and there was 22 men that were on it. Tim Schultz actually set up, him and Paul Wilson. Paul Wilson's a court magistrate over in England. And there was 22 of us, and Tim made all the tuxedos out of Tiger Stripe. They were extremely, extremely cool. And we wore them for special events. The Muffs were just a team made up of, I'm not going to say special people, they were special to me, okay? But I really feel privileged that you guys think enough of me to actually have me down here to do this.
Oh, wow.
I've been out of paintball for a few years. When I was in it, I finally got out of it because the politics were just getting real bad. And plus, I had a tractor, and I rolled my tractor over. That was pretty much the deciding factor, and I kind of screwed up my leg a little bit, which my leg has healed since then, but it put me out of commission for a few months. And in a few months, I just kind of sat back and relaxed, and prior to that, I was traveling all the time. I mean, I was always going someplace, and it was, you know, I take my family as much as I could, but I couldn't take them all the time. So in that month when I was healing up, it actually made me settle down a little bit and enjoy.
KIKKO, kill your volume on your camera.
Okay.
Because it's actually being picked up from the... Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's working out.
It's like when you call into a radio station, the first thing it says, can you turn down your radio?
Yeah. I actually have a thing, Randy Camilla put out a little paper after APG called The Rag. And we went and did a big game in St. Louis one time at Tim Schlutz's place. Well, they took us down to I believe it was Tom and Bob radio show. I've been on a radio show a few times. They'd actually call me up when I was down here in California, and I would do the show over the phone too. But this one time, Tom Kay, Tim Schultz, and I went up there, and they actually let Tom and I take over the radio show.
Oh, wow.
And Randy Camille was there also. It was actually pretty funny the way Randy put it in the letter. But Tom and I got to announce a few of the songs that came up, and it was just nothing short of a terrific time. Then the next day, the radio guys came out and played paintball in the big game with us, and
oh wow!
Oh, it was just terrific. It absolutely was. You see, that was the time of building time, because when I got into paintball, I just fell in love with the sport. That's about all I can say about it. And something I wanted to do was to make the sport bigger and bigger. But everybody when I first started, everybody you talk to, they go, oh, that's a warmongering sport. That's a warmongering sport. And see, and I didn't want anything to do with that. That's why I always tried to change the perception of what the sport actually was.
Right.
So, and you know, you wore camo, but you tell people, well, you know, people hunting wear camo. You know, you're
That's
in
true.
the woods, period. You know, real simple. And nobody's out to kill anybody. I never even liked to hear that phrase. You were out to eliminate a player. It was a game, just like everything else, you know. And so eventually, as I was doing that, it actually started to progress into that. And that's what actually brought a lot of my sponsors to me is I would do a lot of benefits, and I would do them for nothing. And people just kind of took note of it. And then when people would see that people in the sport weren't going out and shooting up cars and all this other stuff, which they did to start with, and see, that was real bad for the sport. But all the good people in the sport that finally started coming into the sport would down that, and pretty soon the bad people that were doing that would be so few and far between that they wouldn't even be noticed anymore.
Right.
So
When I tell people, when I describe paintball, especially to like the parents of the kids, I tell them that this is like a live action video game, because that's what you want to. That's what the kids are in. That when I was younger, it was always go outside and play.
right,
Nowadays, it's the kids don't want. They think if they go outside and play, they're being punished.
right,
So they want to stay in the room and play video games. So I said, well, this is a live action video game. I said, you're out there with these space age looking guns to go play, and when you get shot, you know it, you feel it.
yeah.
You know.
And,
So
and you exercise, you know.
Yes.
I mean, you're not just sitting on the couch. You're exercising your thumbs. You're out there moving
exactly
around.
right,
Yep.
exactly, and that's what I. And it's like for the adults, I say, remember when you were younger and you used to play cops and robbers or guns and stuff like that?
Right. Yep.
This is that for adults.
Yep.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
So that's how I would tell it. You know, when I would explain to the adults.
That's a good way to do it. I went through that, believe me, many, many different times and in many different ways, trying to explain to people how good it was. And it actually, you know, because it had a persona of being dangerous also. But, you know, you always had to explain all the nice stuff that paintball had now to keep you safe.
Right.
The goggles, you know, everything like that. Because I'll be honest with you, when I first started, I had a construction company with a guy named Rick Williams. Okay, well, we didn't know what to get him for his birthday because the guy had everything. You know, we were rolling pretty good back then. So anyhow, we got him a Splatmaster. So we got it for his birthday, and he started shooting it. And I just thought, wow, I got to have one of them guys, you know. So I went down. We bought it at Honest John's. And when you bought the paintballs back then, you bought a tube of paintballs, which was 10 for $3. So them babies were 30 cents a ball back when we started. So anyhow,
it's like having those first strike rounds now.
wow. So anyhow, so I take and I get one, and we were down at his property and here in Vallejo, and we just started playing, shooting at each other. Well, next thing we know, we had about 30 some guys working for us. Next thing we know, everybody had a splat gun. So we go, well, we can't do this at his house because his wife's going to kill us. So anyhow, we found a lot. And we go up there and we start playing on the lot. And next thing we know, there's all kinds of people coming to this lot that want to play. And we had to go find a different place. It was just way too small. But to make a long story short, when we started playing, we were playing without any goggles. We were just playing paintball straight up because we didn't have any idea of the safety factor or anything like that whatsoever.
Now, what year was this?
That was like 84, something like that. That's where I met Kikko. I think it was the next year when I...
Yep, 85-ish.
Yeah.
Came down my street and shot the house, and I was hooked.
Yeah, but I missed him. So.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that you brought up how you started and stuff like that. Was when I was walking out the door, that was the one thing I hear my wife yelling at me from behind. Ask him. I want to tell him your wife wants to know how he got started in paintball. So she's yelling at me as I'm walking out the door. I said, all right, I'll tell him. I'll ask him. Don't worry. I'm pretty sure he'll say something.
Well, that's exactly how I got started. And like I said, there were just so many people on the field. My partner, or on the lot, I will call it. It wasn't a field. And so my partner and I decided, well, we better start looking around and see if we can't find a place to do it. So we found a place out by the dump, actually. It was a big eucalyptus grove out there. And we started it, and it was called Battle Action Games. Because after we started playing with just our guys, somehow word got around, and people from that we never knew that obviously weren't on our crew would show up and wanted to play. Well, we're like, yeah, come on, man, let's do it. Well, next thing my partner goes, he says, we have to pay for insurance, we're paying for the land and everything. Maybe we should start a business, and that's how we started Battle Action Games right there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and Carpet Bob has it now.
Right.
Yeah, he took it over. Once I started traveling, and playing paintball seriously, I just actually my partner had to end up running the construction place by himself because I was gone most of the time.
Right.
And so Carpet Bob took it over, and he's built the Hornets out there right now. And Bob and I go back. Bob and I played together on the first team, but he was one guy that showed up out of nowhere, didn't know him, and he kept showing up. That's how I gave him the name Carpet Bob. That was me that gave him that name. He'd pull up in his carpet sucking van, and he kept pulling up. So finally, we had another guy out there named Bob also. So I said, well, you are going to be Carpet Bob, and he is just going to be Bob.
Okay.
So it actually worked out pretty good, and I still like Bob. Bob and I we've been up and down for years, and he's still a good guy.
I saw him last weekend, and he wanted me to tell you hello, and
One question for you. We got Mark Gong saying, "Hey, Fred, looking good, Freddie." Then we got Rebel Johnson. He says, "What's your opinion on how the game has changed?"
Rebel's a female; she's a friend. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the first question.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
actually,
it's Jessica Schultz. Hey, wow. Hey, Mark. So we got Jessica Schultz on. Rebel, continue on.
Okay, what was Rebel's question again?
Rebels was, how have the guns changed over the years? Are they better now for Fred?
You talking about the markers?
Yes, the markers.
Absolutely. When I first started out, obviously they were light because they were plastic. It was a splat master. You pushed it back and you fired the gun. Now they're just incredible. I seen them evolve over the years. I actually had one of the first semi-automatics that was it was given to Dan Colby of Air America, and he gave it to me. I think Jeff Promoter gave it to him to give to me, and I took it to a tournament up in Oregon, and I got to tell you, everybody else had pump guns, and I was just smacking everybody. It was almost embarrassing out there with that thing, But it weighed about half as much as I did. It was a pretty heavy marker.
Wow.
I think I still have it someplace. But it was just, that was the beginning of the semi-autos right there.
Right.
And then it kind of evolved. The guns got a little lighter, but then the problem was the faster you could fire, they would freeze up because of the CO2.
Right.
Okay, so next thing I know, Dan Colby from Air America sends me an air system. So we go play a game. I can't even remember where it was. I've been so many places. We go play a 10-man someplace, and it was real cold out that morning, and everybody was freezing up. I mean, I was sitting there watching balls coming at me, dropping and rolling up to my feet, and I was just smacking these guys because I had the air. So I've been very, very privileged to have some terrific people that helped me through the years, giving me some of the first things that actually came out to go do this.
Wow.
So,
And we have one of the Brass Eagles with us today.
yeah, and, actually, this is actually pretty cool. And people are going to go, well, it's a plastic gun, yeah. But what I was all about is getting people involved in the sport. Now, you're not going to go to a parent and say, hey, you can get your kid this $800 gun, and he'll have a great time. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Something like this, and Brass Eagle, that's why I really like them, is they went after the beginners to get people involved in the game. And which would lead, if you were very interested, you would obviously move up to different markers that were better and faster.
Right.
But as a starting point, this was perfect right here. It had everything but the goggles. It had the gun, it had the barrel plug, it had my video, which sold almost 1 million copies of how to play paintball. And what it did is it showed people how to play it fair, how to play it safe. So it was a pretty good thing. And I've always been proud to be with Brass Eagle. I think that they tried to make a real superior market, but it just never worked out for them, you know. But this is what made me proud to be with them, is they would help get people involved in the sport, and that's what I was all about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And that's basically what my channel is all about. Because for me personally, it was never about me. Okay, that's why I was always behind the camera. I liked to go to all the fields. After I left the jungle, Kikko and I went to all the fields in the Bay Area and Northern California to try to promote paintball. You know,
Right.
I would go out there, I'd shoot my little music video and whatnot, and then I would either have the drone or I'd talk to the owners and say, well, this is so and so Sonol Paintball, or this is so and so from American Paintball, and you know, tell us, you know, your what your rental packages are, or how big is your field, or how long you've been in business and stuff like that, because we're trying to promote it and get people out there to play instead of sitting at home on their butts, you know, just in front of the TV.
That's exactly what I did. And you know, to be honest with you, I took a lot of heat too. You know, people go, oh, you're promoting yourself, you know. And I didn't promote myself. Who promoted me was the people that wanted to help me bring more people into the sport, which would be my sponsors. Like, you know, like Tim Schloss, Dan Colby, you know, Jim Lively and I've been friends for years. When I first met Jim Lively, we went back to the Nashville tournament. And it was still pumped back then. And I got to tell you, I talked to the guy for probably 5 minutes, and I felt like he'd been my neighbor for a year. He was just so friendly and so good, and I would support his tournament every year thereafter until I got out of paintball. Wow. You know, and the reason that I would go back there is because of Jim Lively. You know, there was other tournaments I could go to, or I could have skipped his tournament. You know, I didn't have to take and drag a bunch of guys back there to do that. I did it because of Jim Lively, and Jim Lively then in turn would actually help support me on that. So, you know, I mean, I can't even tell you how blessed I am with the people that have helped me, that I've met, including yourself. You know, I mean, here you are. Here I'm an old guy already now, you know, and I've been in this for like a gazillion years. And you still take notice and still want to talk to me about how
Of course.
I evolved and how paintball evolved.
Okay, we got a question from Adam McConnell. What was your best achievement in your career individually, and what was your best achievement for your team as a captain?
Wow, that's a good one. I think the best achievement for me personally was getting to meet the people, and especially the guys on my team. The guys on my team were all pretty well handpicked, and they were just terrific guys. I can't ever say enough about them. And as a captain, we played in a lot of tournaments. We won a lot of small tournaments. We actually took second in a couple of the majors, which we should have won, but it just didn't work out at the very end. We had one in Texas where we were ahead. I had actually stepped in an armadillo hole and had broke my ankle and my leg in 3 places. Well, this was just before the final game, or 3 final games. So they take me back in, and the EMs were going to take my boot and, you know, take me to the hospital. I said no. We duct taped my leg. My guys carried me back out there, and we played the final 3 games. In the last game, which we were ahead and we were going to win, I had a deaf person on my team. Very, very nice guy, but he was deaf. And he worked out, he played all year with us without a problem. We would put a yellow ribbon on his arm so that the refs would know who he was. Well, in the final game, I couldn't push, so I was sitting back there, obviously guarding the flag, and he was on the left-hand side, and he was keeping them from coming around. My team was actually pushing on the right-hand side right away, and a ref went over and looked at him, and the ref told him, he says, "You're awful close to the edge of the field, get back in a little bit." Well, obviously, my guy is deaf. He didn't hear it. The ref went and pulled him out of the game because he did not listen to him. That let the other team come around, so we ended up taking second place in that Texas tournament. And then after that, I went to the hospital and they casted my leg. So it was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. But I would have to say that the people on my team made me always feel good. They always made me feel wanted. Guys like Mark Gong used to call it the Asian persuasion. There was 3 or 4 of them. They were just terrific guys. They were so much fun to be with. So that's what I'd have to say about that.
And from Jessica, question is, ask him how he went from playing locally to going on the tournament circuit. Does he remember the first tournament?
I remember the first tournament. It was in Nashville, Tennessee at Jim Lively's. And we went out there. After we'd been playing here in town, this is back when it was 15 men too. So it was 15 men to a team.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like a small army. But anyhow, we would take, and we were sitting at a table one night, and somebody told me about the tournament back there, and I go, wow. I said, we should go back there and do that, you know, and everybody goes, I don't know, man, there's a lot of logistics in doing it. And I go, hey, let's just do it, you know, I mean, I'll front some of the money if you guys can't afford to do it, let's go do it. And so they go, well, how do you want to do it? I says, well, I want a team. I said, and so everybody voted that day, and they said, we want you to be the captain. I said, I'm happy to. And they go, well, what are we going to call the team? And there was all kinds of names floating around, like, you know, because we had battle action games. Right. They wanted the battle action crew and all kinds of stuff like that. And I go, I don't know about that, you know. And one guy goes, well, you're always out there. You're always coming after us, you know. And I said, well, there you go. I said, let's call it Constant Pursuit, period. And that's what it was. And we went to the tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was actually pretty good, too. I took my daughter back there, and Ricky Schroeder was playing. And, you know, Ricky Schroeder. Yeah. So anyhow, so I knew Ricky. And my daughter's sitting over there, and she goes, oh, Dad, that's Ricky Schroeder. And I go, no, that's not Ricky Schroeder. She goes, Dad, that's Ricky Schroeder over there. I go, no, it isn't. She goes, I swear it is. And I go, what kind of? She was like 6 years old or 7 years old. I said, well, come on, let's go check it out. And I grab her by the hand, and I'm dragging her over there, right? And it was so funny. And I get up there and go, are you Ricky Schroeder? And he looks at me like, are you crazy, Fred? and he goes, oh, yes, I am. And my daughter's just sitting there. She's as white as a ghost. So, yeah, it was pretty funny. She actually came on a few trips with us, and it was pretty exciting. Nice. We actually took her over to France one time, too. My wife and I had plans. The sponsors had set everything up to go over to France, and she had a thing going at school, so she didn't want to go. So then she comes up 2 days before we're to take off. Well, I get a hold of TWA, and obviously there's definitely no first-class tickets left at all. So I got her a seat back in coach, but she did get to go along. Right. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. That's another.
All right, another question from one Rebel Johnson Mazar, if I'm pronouncing it. How excited are you to see paintball worldwide?
I loved it. I actually was invited. I was over in England, I believe, my first time I was over there in 1988 or 89, and I was actually over there as one of the main refs for the Mayhem tournament that was over there, and I thought the people were terrific. The very first time I went over there, I want to say it was 87 or 88, paintball was legal. I was picked up at the airport by Paul Wilson, which is a court magistrate. And we went out and we had a small tournament with a bunch of teams there and a team that we had put together from the United States on an old airfield. And on the airfield, it was perfect. And while we were playing, the police actually did come out there and question it. But thank God that he was the court magistrate, and it all worked out. And we had a terrific time there. And then I think it kind of spread from there. There was teams that heard about it that came from France. There was another team from Germany there, and it just started going global. And to me, as long as it goes worldwide in a positive way, I think it's terrific. And that was a very, very good question. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, currently we have that question regarding, I do believe in Prague, Czechoslovakia is the World Cup there, and Team USA is participating in this, representing the United States. Your opinion on that?
I think it's great. I absolutely do. You know, I worked for a long time trying to get this sport into the Olympics. I worked a long time to put it on television, believe me. That was not an easy thing either, but I think it's terrific. I wish them nothing but the best. I still believe that the best players in the world are from the United States. Now, I love all the other countries. Take my word for it. But I still believe the best players come from here.
Right.
Okay, next question. Not to change the subject, how did the MGM Grand event come to be?
That was pretty interesting. I got a call from a man named Joel Kostic, who owns Barnstorm Productions down at MGM Disney. And he asked me, he goes, would you be interested in doing a video? And I said, yeah, I would. So I went down, we did the video. And I told him, I says, you know, I said, you're on MGM Disney. I says, why don't we do a show? Can we put together a show? And he goes, wow. He says, that would be terrific. But he says, not very easy. I says, well, I says, and so we went to the people at Disney, and they says, if you had big sponsors or you're going to put it on television, we would probably go along with it. So then we contacted ESPN. I talked to a man named Ron Simeo, who was the head of production at ESPN. And I talked to him about the idea, and he says that, you know, he says the idea sounds good. He says he was kind of leery because of the, you know, the gun factor and everything else like that. And he said that I would probably, he says, if you could come up with $60,000, he says, I would probably give you one spot on a Sunday, or one hour spot on a Sunday, if you had MGM Disney to shoot the show at. So I said, all right, well, so then I have to go back to MGM Disney with Joel Kostic, and we told him, well, yes, ESPN said that they would air it if we could shoot it on your lot. And they said, well, that's fine. Well, now we're down to the $60,000, okay, for the 1 day spot, or 1 hour spot. So I go to Dennis Tippmann from Tippmann Pneumatics, which is a terrific guy. Him and his son, I can't even say enough about them. They're just terrific guys. But anyhow, make a long story short, he says, yes, I'll give you a third of it, $20,000. So then I went to Vince Goggles, which was my sponsor at the time, and they said, yeah, we'll give you $20,000. Then I went to Dan Colby from Air America, and he says, yes, I'll give you $20,000. So we had our $60,000. So then we contacted ESPN and says, we have our $60,000, can we get our 1 hour slot? And he goes, is MGM Disney involved in it? And I go, yes, they are. And he says, okay. So what we did then was we got a hold of, I called Reebok, and I called, who else I called? I called Reebok and Adidas. And I told them, I said, we're going to shoot a show. I said, I'd like to get tennis shoes and outfits for 2 different teams. Well, obviously they had to check their credentials to make sure everything was on the up and up. And they both told me, well, we'll get back to you. Well, Adidas got back to me first. And Reebok actually did get back to me, but they were like 9 hours late. So anyhow, we went with Adidas. We shot the show. We got the money. We put everything together down there. We shot the show. It was an absolute hit down at MGM Disney. I brought in my teams. I brought in my Constant Pursuit guys, some of my Constant Pursuit guys, and then I brought in some of my sponsors. I brought in Billy from Smart Parts, which was terrific. He was actually on the show talking to, and very, very eloquent. So I brought Billy in. I brought Rainey Boucher from Paintball News in. I had Jerry Brown, owner of Paintball Sport. He was one of the refs. Had Jimmy Anderson in there. I just had all the guys that helped me through the years do this. We shot the show. I didn't even get to see the show because I was actually flying home from the Amateur Open back at Debbie's place. Everybody knows about the Amateur Open. I was flying home, and so I'm on the phone while I'm on the plane talking to my wife, and she's watching the show, and she goes, it looks great, it looks great. So I get off the plane, I go and I get my bag and everything, and I get a phone call from ESPN, and it's Ron Simeo. And Ron Simeo goes, Fred, I just had to call and congratulate my new star. He goes, you guys had an extremely high rating for that 1 hour show. He said, you guys blew away all the other sports that were on for the entire weekend. We blew it away. And so that kind of told me that people were extremely interested in the sport. And I had a contract with ESPN that they would air it one time, but they would own the rights for the show for 1 year. And so they could air it as many times as they wanted. They aired it 24 more times. So that's how it was. It wasn't a simple thing. It was extremely hard. But it was well worth it, because what we did is we got a hold of people that probably didn't know anything about paintball, that seen this and go, that is exciting. I've got to find a field and go try this. And that's what it was.
Here's the funny thing. Now, I've heard this story before, and I've actually seen the video. I went home, and there was something very familiar about that because I grew up in Florida, and I used to frequent, Disney all the time. They had signs at the park for the paintball event.
Correct.
How do I know this? Because the day you were filming, I was there.
Seriously.
Yes, I remember seeing those signs.
Is that right?
And I was just like, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I even told her, I said, they're doing paintball here? That's crazy. Where would they be doing paintball here? We never went and saw it.
Yeah, it was on New York Street.
Yeah. Well, we never went to saw it because she was, she wanted to ride the rides. And
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the signs, and I was dumbfounded because I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Because Orlando also had a pretty big paintball facility because I saw that.
Yep, I actually went there and supported him with a couple big games to actually keep him going. At one point, he was had a little glitch in it, and I went down there. We had some big games. I actually went down. I shot my video there too on his field. But yeah, when we shot on New York Street, we had obviously New York Street. We had to take and close it all off with netting, and the netting had to be. I think the netting was like 40 feet high or something like that. It was just incredible. But they had the crowds on the other side of the netting, and when we were gearing up for our first game, that crowd was just going bananas. It was terrific. It really was.
See, I remember back then. I thought it was people like the people that come into the park were oh, go play paintball. That's what I thought. And my girlfriend's like, no, I don't want to play paintball. I'm here to ride rides. I don't want to get paint.
Yeah.
Because I heard it hurts and whatever. And it was funny because when I grew up in Florida, I always wanted to try paintball.
Oh, really?
We would go by that paintball field in Orlando because we would go to Orlando at least 4 times a year.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, man, I really want to try this out. And everybody that I went, all my friends were wimps. They're like, I don't want to play. I don't want to play. I'm like, come on, guys. It's like guns, man. Come on, let's go. Let's play.
Well, I met so many good people at that field down there too. I can't begin to tell you. I can't remember his last name. Ed. He had a big real estate company down there. I can't remember his name of it. He was a terrific guy, and he would show up in a suit. He'd take off his suit, he'd put on his camo, and we'd go out and we'd play paintball. And everybody that I met down in Orlando, I can't honestly say that I never met a bad person. Plus, when I was down there, they gave me one of the guys down there gave me a card for the Hard Rock Cafe, and it was only given to I'll say certain stars. Not that I'm a star, please, but it was given to certain stars, and you never had to wait in line at any Hard Rock Cafe. I still have it in my wallet, actually, out in the truck. Wow. And you would just walk up and you'd show this card, no matter how long the line was, you got in immediately. You got the next table.
Wow.
And they gave me that down there, and it's good for life.
Really?
Yeah. I'll tell you a good one. We're down in Atlanta, and at a tournament down there, and I got my daughter and my wife with me. Well, they love the pot roast there, so hey, gotta go get a pot roast. Okay, so we go there and we walk up there, and there's probably 30 people in line, right? So I walk up, we walk past the line, we walk up to the door, and there's a guy at the door that lets people in. And I show him the card. He opens the door and we walk right in. Now my daughter loved the heck out of it, but I gotta tell you, I was embarrassed. And every one of them people that came in after us was looking at me because I cut in line. So the card was cool, but it still embarrassed me. But I still got it.
Oh my God. So, for me personally, I love the sport. I do not like when I see something bad happen. Like there's so many like little videos on YouTube that kids playing around, and and of course it's a sketch video where they're talking. They lift their goggles up and they're talking, and to me that bugs the hell out of me for being an ex-referee. I'm like, the first thing I'm seeing is this isn't funny.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's something I worked after I got initiated into paintball, because obviously I didn't play with a mask on to start with either. With my friends and the guys that work for us, But after I really seen the dangers of it and knew what it could do, and then actually fell in love with the sport and wanted to grow it, I knew that there was only one way to grow this sport, and that was to be decent about everything you did. You go out, and my saying was always play hard, play safe, play fair.
Correct.
Period. And that was my saying, and I wrote for Paintball News and all those nights. That was always my saying in there, and I meant it. You go out, you play hard, you play safe, and you play fair. And when you get off the field, be nice.
Right.
I mean, especially for the people that are watching you that don't play. Because if you come off and you're acting like a jerk, these people are going to go, I don't want nothing to do with this because I'm going to run into a guy like that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one way that I actually worked hard, and people around me did too. The people I'm talking about, Dan Colby, Jim Lively, Tim Schloss, all those guys, they worked really hard too to have a real good persona about the sport. And without those guys, you take those guys out of the equation, and I think what it is today would not even be close to what it is today.
I think that personally, there's a bunch of people that shouldn't be playing. That should have nothing to do with paintball. Players.
Yep.
That I've been out in the field where I see people, bonus ball or overshoot players, just for the hell of it,
Yep.
and it ruins the sport for everybody around, especially the person that's getting shot up.
Well, especially first timers. Now you go out
Right.
and you're all jacked up to play this sport and been waiting to do it, and then somebody just goes and shoots the heck out of you. You gonna go back?
No.
No, right. And what are you gonna tell the people that were thinking about doing this?
Don't
You're
do
not.
it.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. But if that same person goes out and has just an absolutely terrific time,
Yeah.
he's going to go tell people, and they're going to want to go do it. See, that's what I did to start with. That's what built the sport. That's what really made it take off. It started back east, but I got to tell you, I love California, and the California players are just terrific players.
Nice.
Yep. Period.
We deal with a lot of people all over California, especially down in San Diego. We have a guy named John Akrilla who puts together this tournament. It's called the AFPL, the Almost Famous Paintball League, and it's based out of San Diego in Southern California. But he comes up here into Fairfield to do his NorCal Havoc, is what he calls it, and he's coming up I think in a couple of weeks. Kiko would know, but. We go out there. It's always a good time. He always has the players. Sometimes some of the players come from middle of California to play this, and it's awesome. Rich Telford does the.
Rich, yeah, used to play on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very good kid too.
He does the North versus South tournament over at West Coast Adventure Park in Sacramento, and that's a True Woods ball field. They just put a hyperball field in. It's really cool. We went, I think it was last year, and it was phenomenal.
Was it?
All the people, you got the guys coming up from SoCal versus the guys from NorCal, and it was a good time. I mean, I've got video of it. It was just, listen to everybody sitting there just having a great time.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
Well, and people that seen that happen. People that had nothing to do with the tournament, that were just there as observers watching you guys, that's what made them want to get involved.
Right.
That those guys are having a good time. I would like to go do that.
Right.
Now, if they see you guys coming off fighting, swearing at each other,
Yeah, they're not gonna do it.
yeah, it's done. So, and a lot of guys, when I started, that's pretty much how the norm was. There was just so much fighting going on, and guys, when we started our field. You came out there and you went up and you were unloading on somebody or you were swearing, you were gone.
Right.
I didn't even put up with it. I had no time for that, I'm not going to have 100 nice guys and one jerk wreck their day.
Right. Exactly.
Real
Exactly. So, the NPPL.
Yep.
So, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how that got started.
I had a call from one of my friends, and he was back there. His name is Davison, and he asked me. He goes, "We need to maybe put something together because the sport's growing, and it's so many states right now that maybe we should get some kind of league or something going." And I go, "Well, that's good." They said, "Let's get a hold of the teams and we'll see what's going on." Well, then he calls me back and he goes, "Well, I've been calling the teams, but they're not very responsive to me, Fred." And I said, "Well, let me make some calls." So he got the teams from out there. I got some teams from here, and we met in Chicago, and we just hashed it all out. It was a 2-day meeting. It was actually pretty incredible to be there. I actually have a picture of us someplace here, all sitting at the table. There it is. That's it, right there.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's all of us sitting at the table. And we sat and hashed around and hashed around. Me and Rainy Boucher especially, we came up with the name National Paintball. So that's what it was. We called it Nipple.
From
National
Jessica.
Paintball Players League. So.
From Jessica, the pot roast was amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, Adam
we did that
McConnell,
sometimes.
there we go. Adam McConnell says, at what point in your career did you know that Constant Pursuit had arrived and that you knew you really had something special on your hands?
Actually, after the first tournament, we went to Nashville, like I say, and had a terrific time. We all pretty much bonded in that tournament. We didn't win it, but we played hard. We had a terrific time. And what was good is we met a lot of other teams. So, each time that we went to a different tournament, our team would evolve. We would see something special that they were using, something special that they were doing, and yada, yada, yada. And it worked out pretty good. I actually enjoyed it. I traveled an awful lot. As Jessica will tell you, my daughter, she knows that I traveled an awful lot. Right. So I would do big games. They would pay me to... I would fly in on a Thursday. I would meet with people on a Friday and talk just like we're doing right now.
Right.
And then Saturday and Sunday I would play big games, and I would fly home Sunday night. And I can't even begin to tell you how many terrific people I met doing those big games. Not just the owners of the fields who took care of me almost embarrassingly. They were just terrific to me. But the players that came out to actually meet me and want to play paintball with me was, like I say, if you weren't there, you can't explain it. I can't put it into words because it was that special. Wow. That special for me.
Next question from Mark. See if he will come out to the West Coast on the 28th this month.
That's next weekend.
Yeah, no, that's not the big game. That's in October. Rich Telford's
the
North-South game they still
what we
have,
talked about.
which is gaining popularity here on the West Coast, and that's in October 19th on the 20th up at West Coast Adventure Park.
Is that Mark Gong?
Yes, it's Mark Gong.
Mark Gong. Terrific guy.
Daniel Backey. Backey? Is that how we pronounce Daniel's name? Remember the Pope Valley people?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the son.
Oh, is that
He
right?
runs a history of paintball too, and guns, markers. He takes it to all the major venues throughout the state and a couple other places, showing all the old guns. Next question for Ted is for Fred: Cocker or Mag?
Love them both. Okay. Let me start by saying that Bud Orr and Tom K are both very special friends of mine and have been for years. Tom K, he gave me my first Automag. Actually made one for my wife, which I showed you guys too.
Yes.
Had her name and everything on. Bud Orr made me a special autococker. The problem was I was locked up with Automag. So, but I did take the autococker when I went and played in England. I played over there and I used the autococker there. And it was one of the first ones over there. And I got to tell you, them people were they were going nuts over that. So Bud Orr and Tom K, both terrific guns. I could not tell you which one I would like best. And both of them shot equally well, but both of the people were terrific. So I could not choose one or the other. But that's a very good question, anyhow.
That's all for now.
Cool.
Okay, back to the question. The West Coast on the 28th.
You know what? I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. If I'm not doing nothing, I probably will go. Is Mark Gong going to be there?
Mark Gong, you going to be there? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel Backey, excited to watch this. Thanks, guys. Not related to Gary Bennett of Paintball Hill, Pope Valley, though. Okay, that answers the question. Daniel has the private games up on his property up in
Yeah.
in where is it, Russian River,
Yeah.
and they play up there a private game, which is a good thing. No Foley auto gas pump and mechanical only.
Yeah.
A lot of people go up there on top of
We've actually filmed
Christmas
that.
time and in the summertime. I think he might have one coming up again,
Oh yeah.
like in the old days, kind of renegade.
Right.
Just
No, that's pretty cool.
Mark says yes. Okay, so we're here with Fred Schultz, still talking. As long as he wants to talk, we're listening. So keep chiming some questions in. I know we're on a little bit of a delay, but in Guerneville, Daniel's in Guerneville. Okay, so if Fred wants to keep talking, he has some albums and pictures we've been trying to scan and work with.
Yeah, I'll scan the pictures
Yeah,
and
we'll
stuff like that.
probably
and
do
then-
that at a different time.
Yeah, and then I'll post them up on my page, and I'll forward them to the Concert Pursuit page. But yeah, going up to Daniel's place, I mean, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. I sat there and I took my drone up, and I just did like a 360, and there's nothing. It's just tops of trees.
Really?
And then of course, I'm in his truck and he's driving, and I'm looking down. There's cliffs, and he's just chugging along. Yeah.
Next question from
so
Adam
scary
McConnell is there any way we can get kind of a tactical breakdown on a good push or an assault that Constant Pursuit used to annihilate the other teams?
Oh, he wants to know the secrets.
Yeah. Well, basically what we would do is walk the field, and then we had I tried to run them in waves. I tried to always be the point of the spear. For some reason, I just like getting up in the front. So I would always go up in front. We would have a couple guys on one side, whichever would be the side that would be the easiest to guard. We would put them out there and try to hold the other team from coming around. And we would take the rest of the guys and try to push the other side. So, it worked most of the time. Sometimes it didn't work. And Adam is that's my daughter's boyfriend, and I want to congratulate him. He just made sergeant.
Wow.
Yeah, with the Birmingham Police Department in Alabama. He's a terrific person. Period. I am extremely glad he's with my daughter. Yeah, and he just made sergeant, and so congrats to you, my good man. That was absolutely terrific.
Nice.
And I used to train the police actually.
Really?
Oh, I did it for 2 years down at Port Chicago. I trained all the SWAT teams and everything. They would take me in there, and I actually had to take my wife because I'd come home and tell her stories about how it was, and she'd go, yeah. So anyhow, I had to take her down there, and a guy named Phil, he was a police officer for Richmond. He's the one that got me involved in it. Him and I used to work out together. And he played paintball, and he told me, he goes, man, he says, you got to work out. You got to come down and work these guys out. So I'd go down there, and then what it would be is they would put 4 guys, and then we'd have a scenario. And in fact, I even think I took Mike Beard down there one time, if I'm not mistaken. But anyhow, make a long story short, they'd put a car in the middle of a parking lot, and one guy would be out there like he's taking stuff out of this room, because Port Chicago was big, it had all the rooms and stuff there. Right. And then he would go out there, and he would take and be putting stuff in, and they would take 4 officers at a time with paintball guns, and they would come up and they would have to secure this, right? So they would secure him immediately because he's out in the open. Well, I'm still back in this room. I got the door open, but I'm back in this room. And then what they would do is they would have to make sure that the opening, the door that was open, there was nobody inside. They had to make sure that was secure, and that's where I would take them. I did this for 2 years. 2 years. And at 4 guys at a time, and never, ever got shot one time. Wow. One time I said there's a little alcove like that, and I tried to teach them this stuff too. I would sit there, and there would be a light way back there. And so I would sit like this, and I'd go out the door because I knew I'd taken the guy out that was over here. So the rest of them were behind this little alcove, and here was the door. So I'd go out the door, and I would sit there, and I would watch the shadow. And the minute I would see the shadow come, I would just stick my marker around the side and take them out. They'd be eliminated. One game, it was almost midnight, and it was raining real hard. And they had flashlights, I didn't. But they would told not to use the flashlights because you could see where they were.
Right.
Well, I crawled out in the same little alcove. It was about maybe 7 feet tall. I grabbed it, I climbed up on top of it, and I laid on my belly. And all 4 of these guys, I took all 4 of them out in under 60 seconds, and I could not see one of them, but they were yelling at each other. Hey, hey, hey. And where I heard them yelling, that's where I would shoot. And you could hear them hitting because they had raincoats on. and one guy, I felt sorry for him, but then one guy comes out, I come out, and there was one guy left, and I ran out. I couldn't get him because he was over here, so I ran over here like this, and he runs over and gets behind the car to shoot at me. Well, I lay right down in the parking lot, and I start shooting his feet. Right. Well, when I hit his foot, then he sat down. I shot him in the butt. It was good. The lieutenant said that was down there because they would bring like 50 guys at a time.
Right.
That's how many would train per night. And he said that was probably the best thing that could ever happen to any of those guys, was to see realistically how it could be out there.
Right.
Because that's a dangerous job. I have nothing but absolute total respect for law enforcement. I think they get a bad shape too.
Yeah,
you really have.
Okay,
I don't want
question.
to get too political. But
Question from Jeremy Slam. Where have you been? We would like to see you back. From Jeremy Slam, a prominent player back in the day. And Adam McConnell, regarding Alex Mazzar's message, I guess I missed that, wanted to know what are the good tips and advice you have for a new player. Play fair, play hard, play safe, right?
Yeah, play hard, play safe, play fair. I would have to say, to make it a good day, to really have a good time, pick the people you go out with. Don't go out with any hotheads. Go out with some people who want to have some fun. Some guys will want to really do this with you and play hard. Don't get me wrong. Go out and play hard, but go out and have with some good people and have fun. Because I guarantee you, if you do that the first time, there'll be a second time for you.
Oh yeah.
And we got picked up by the History of Paintball, which is broadcasting this too, from Daniel Backey. And Reggie Jackson is watching, a couple other people. But some more questions. Keep the questions coming. You're wondering, I know we're hard competing against people we're playing at this current time.
Oh yeah.
So
that's why I put it up there too. It's like this is on Sundays is more like the team practice days and stuff
so
like that.
So if you got something to say hi to Fred now.
So yeah, Sundays are normally practice days for a lot of the teams that are out there playing practice, and so that's why I decided to post up. Like I think it was yesterday and Friday when we're going to be doing this and stuff like that. I didn't want to give it away that we were going to have you, but it's like I said, I've been blowing up my page and nothing but Fred Schultz. And if they didn't know it was going to be you, it's like, come on, guys.
I appreciate it.
So let's talk about the Ronald McDonald's house. That's how.
That was actually that was my first cover shot. I would go do Ronald McDonald House. I would go do charity things,
Right.
And Randy Camilla, who was editor for Action Pursuit Games back then, APG, he would see me at one, but he didn't say anything. But then he seen me at a couple more, and he came up to me and he asked me, he goes, who's your sponsor? And I go, well, I don't have any sponsors. He goes, well, but who's paying your way to come to do all of these? I go, no one's paying my way. I says, I'm coming to help them out. I said, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah. And he says, well, here's my card. And he gave me his card, which, kind of blew me away too, And so then I get a call from him a couple of days later, and he goes, I want you to fly down to Burbank and see me. And I said, okay. So I flew down to Burbank, and he was there, and he goes, I'm going to give you a cover shot. I go, really? And he goes, absolutely. And he goes, I feel that you've earned it. And Randy Camilla, I can't even say enough about him. He's a terrific person. He was also in my show at MGM Disney. So anyhow, so he gave me a cover shot, and then it just kind of went from there. And then Jerry Braun from Paintball Sports, he wanted to give me a cover shot, and I ended up being on, here and overseas, just numerous shots. Probably, I don't know, Kikko, what do you think? Maybe 14 cover shots, something like that?
Yep.
Yep.
We got Bill Mills. Bill Mills says hi. Bill and Don Mills.
Oh, really?
Yep. You know them, right?
Yep. And hi to you guys. Yeah. Haven't heard from you in a long time. It's very good to hear from your period.
What was your greatest comeback game of all time?
Whoa.
There's a couple of them bad boys. I'd have to say the greatest comeback game was the one I told you about up in Oregon.
Right.
And we were playing. We had the upper part of the field, but the lower part had a lot more cover. And my team was just getting eliminated, and this was the last game, and this was going to decide who would get the first place or not. This is where Freddy's Dead Walk came in. So anyhow, Bart Hildebrand, who was my right-hand man always, him and I are behind this bunker up there, and we got like 6 referees standing right there watching us. So obviously everybody knew where we were. So we were trading back and forth, and finally I asked Bart, I go, do you have any ammo left, man? And he goes, Freddie, he says, all I got's what's in my hopper. Well, I was down to about 5 or 6 balls. So anyhow, I says, well, I says, we got to pull her flag. If we don't pull her flag, I says, we're not going to get it. If we pull the flag, we'll get enough points to win the game. And I go, how much time's left in the game? And there was like a minute something left. So I stood up and I fired, and I don't know if I should say this, but I yelled the word shit. Okay? And then I stood up immediately. Well, all the other team thought I said hit, which I didn't. And the refs are standing right there, and the guy that owned the field, John, I can't remember his last name, but he goes, Freddie, you're not hit. And I go, I never said I was. And then the other ref goes, oh my God. So I'm walking out. I still have my armband on. Nobody on the other team picked this up. They never took my armband off because I wasn't hit. I had my marker hanging down to my side, and you have to have your marker in the air when you walk off after you're hit. And as I'm walking down, they're all laughing, going, ha ha, Freddy, ha ha, Freddy. So I finally get down, and there's 2 guys that are right by the flag. And the one guy looks at me and he goes, hey, Freddy, good game. Too bad though, huh? And I go, yeah, I feel the same way. And I ran over, pulled his flag, and got out of their flag station. Then obviously they lit me up. But the game then was over, and we had won it. We beat them by something like 8 points or something like that. And so anyhow, Art Gonzalez, which is another very good friend of mine that played on the team, he used it in a couple other tournaments, and finally they outlawed it. So.
Yeah, I know quite a few people that, I mean, they don't use it in tournaments, but I know quite a few people that have been using it, like Brady Wicklund. Oh.
On another note, Johnny Zimmerman, the Bushmasters, Constant Pursuit combined in the '93 Masters.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, he says, hey.
Well, tell him hey back, and had a good time doing that. You know, like I say, I'm back to the people that I got to meet. That's where the joy of this whole sport was for me, is these people, period. Hey, would you run into a jerk once in a while? Yeah. But I got to tell you, the majority of the people, especially the guys I played with, were nothing short of fantastic, period. And Kikko, you know, you played.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I put you on the MTV show.
Yep.
And you know, that was the #1 MTV show for that year.
Here,
called Road Rules.
Here. Hold on. You get the phone, you sit down, you talk to him about it.
There he is.
Yeah, that's another pretty good story. I'm sitting downstairs at my house watching something. I don't remember, probably football because I love it. But anyhow, I'm sitting there watching something, and my daughter comes running downstairs, Jessica. She's going, Dad, MTV's on the recorder. MTV's on the recorder. And I go, okay. She goes, well, go on, go answer it. And I go, well, I'll answer it in a while, sweetie. I said, I'm watching TV right now. I said, I'll call him back. So anyhow, it was Newbell from MTV. I called him back, and they go, yes, would you be interested in helping us do a paintball show for Road Rules? And I says, yeah, I said, I might. I says, how do you want to do it? And he goes, well, he says, we'll bring the kids up, we'll bring the band up. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I says, I'll do it, but I says, we have to use all my sponsors' things, period. I says, you do that, and you got a deal. And he goes, you got it, we'll do it. So anyhow, so I went and rent out to Mare Island, and I rented this big round building out there.
It was the 1932 World's Fair building from Treasure Island.
Is that what it was?
Yep. It's still there to this day.
Yep, it sure is. I
Daniel
call it the big round building.
Real question. Daniel wants to know what year did Road Rules was that filmed?
97.
Was it? You know, I'll be honest with you, I can't remember. So.
Yeah, I talked to my people. 97.
Yeah, you see it. That's why I have my human dictionary with me.
I've actually found it, guys. You can actually look for it on YouTube.
So now I'm going home.
Yeah, you can, I found it on YouTube. You guys can find it too. It was
Yeah.
pretty. It was a pretty interesting watch.
Yeah, it was. I actually, they aired it like 160 some times that year after we shot it. I had people calling me up all time of the day. Hey man, you're on TV. I go, yeah.
Jerry Riley
Road
was
rules,
part
huh?
of that, right? Good friend
Jerry Riley was part of it. He got the barrels. We brought the barrels down. I contacted Brass Eagles, so J.J. Brookshire brought out tons of markers and stuff. I got the clothes. I can't remember where I got the clothes from.
The Adidas. No, that was the MGM.
That
Yeah,
MGM
it was
gears,
a-
yeah. I actually still have all the clothes from that shoot.
Jessica does say 97.
Yeah.
Jeez, Kiko. Like
Yeah.
you're like an
Yeah.
encyclopedia.
Wow. See, that's why I hang with this guy. Yeah, so anyhow, so we shot it. It was pretty good. We got all the kids in together. I directed
It was a
how.
pain in the
Yeah,
ass.
it was. I directed how I wanted it to go. To start with, the kids were a little unruly. I had them in there shooting pool, and Clay Newbell, which was the director, he comes over to me and he goes, can you get him out here so we can get this thing going? I go, me get him out here? I says, they're your kids. I said, you get him out here. He goes, well, they don't respond well to me. And I go, come on. I said, I walked over to the door, I slapped my hands a couple times, I said, let's go. And they just all came out there. Wasn't a problem, was it?
No.
Now, they were a little unruly when it came to shooting and lifting their masks up. Kiko
Yeah.
had to get in one girl's face because...
They were shooting each other,
Yeah,
right? You're
yeah.
trying to tell them the rules.
And we had a jail, so when they would be bad or get shot, we'd put them in the jail. And it was actually pretty good. They brought the van in, and at the very end, they shot the heck out of the van. I got pictures of that, too. But it was a good time, and it was good for my sponsors. They all loved it. All the people that were there enjoyed it. I know the Road Rules kids loved it. They cried because I wouldn't let them keep the uniforms, but
Check the thing on
it
it.
was what it is.
Yeah.
But we had a good time, and it
Oh, it was a
worked out
great
very
time.
well.
Oh yeah.
And like I say, it just blew the other Road Rules away. Boy, everybody wanted
Yeah,
to
I
see
was
the paintball
kinda-
thing.
I was. I didn't know who they were at that time when I was asking the guy.
I still don't, but anyhow.
Yeah, they were like, "Who are you? You
Okay,
some kind of actor?"
I'm getting a question. Ask him about the big banana.
The big banana. All right. That's what I kind of was there. I was counting the money out, and when kid reached for it, and I just told him, hey, don't touch the money. The big banana's got it. And so, it just kind of grew on me. And actually, the big banana was, I had on my website one time, that's what it was called, my call letter for the big banana. But I tried to get away from that, so because it just meant that I was really yellow, and I wasn't. But I was one of the bunch, huh?
Yeah, he was one of the bunch.
That's right.
But we were talking. Fred got me into the game, coming down, and in my neighborhood, some people work with him. We were both in construction. We had mutual friends, and I heard about the game, and he had gotten a gun. His brother Mike worked with him, and another Fred, Uncle Freddie, and your buddy Ricky was.
Yep.
And they come down after work, and they shot the house across the street. And
Freddie Hardy's house.
yep, Freddie Hardy's house, and so that got me into the game. I was hooked with it, and our paths didn't cross because at that time Freddie was taking off with the team. I played with them. At the original field was in the front of the Grove.
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
Not where Sherwood Forest is. It was in the very front gate where there was a bicycle track.
That's correct. That was there. It was there for a long time. We
Yeah.
built all kinds of bunkers. And
Yeah,
stuff
that
there.
field that's empty where the goats are out.
So that's right where the jungle speedball
When you
field.
first pull
Yes,
in.
even before then.
Right.
All the way up to the road it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
You pull right off the road, you're on the field.
Yep.
Okay.
The old BMX track out there at the Napa.
Johnny made a comment. He said 92, 93, the birth of the auto feeds and crossfires and the pullover.
What about it?
Oh, that's what you just said.
Yeah. Dave's probably right. I watched so many things evolve. Glenn Palmer. I remember when his Quicksilver came out. Man, that was the bomb. I got to tell you. Instead of unscrewing everything and putting the 12 gram in and screwing it back in,
The Quicksilver pop in. I want to say hi to Glenn, too. I don't know if he's listening or not, but Glenn and I go back a long, long time. Glenn was a good person, very, very smart in stuff he would sit down and put together. And Rick Wilcox and Lori, Lori worked for Glenn. I guess she's still
does.
working for Glenn for,
the manager.
that'd be like, 34, 35, 36 years, Just terrific people. You know, and I go right back again, guys, to saying that is how I feel blessed in paintball. Not traveling was cool. All the special things I got was very cool too. I can't say it wasn't because I'd be a liar. But if I had to pick number one thing that I got out of paintball that made me the happiest, it was the people. Period.
I feel the same way. I mean, if it wasn't for paintball, I would have never met KIKKO. I would have never met like 90% of the people that I know out here in California. Because, like I said, I grew up in South Florida.
Right.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for KIKKO, I would have never met you and enjoyed this wonderful sport that I love. You know.
Once again, we've been pouring over albums with Fred, pictures, trying to categorize it to make sense of what the story is. My opinion, just my opinion, not to reflect on Fred. Fred, when he started the field and he planted the seed of the game in the Bay Area, what sprouted off that in the tree continues to this day. And some people they don't owe him, but the lineage, to know the history of the Bay Area scene, starts with this gentleman here, who I'm very happy to call a friend. And he was my captain, and he always told me you got to have some thick skin in this game because of the playground mentality. But the best part is what he just described is the friends, my best friends in the world are through paintball in the last 33, 34 years.
Yeah, it's been a while, huh?
Yes, and the persona that we portray is who we really want to be, and this is the real deal right here. It's simple. It's a simple formula, and I'm very indebted to him for. Like I always said, if it wasn't for paintball, I probably would be dead. You know, I'd be down the wrong path. But this path of paintball continues on. And he's always stated, "Play." What's your motto?
Play hard, play safe, play fair.
That's right. This is the walking billboard. Like I said, a privilege to know him and still know him to this day and be here with him.
Mark.
And there's so much more to come out.
Mark Gong wants to know, ask him about the golden years of paintball. How did the Bay Area play a role in it?
Wow, I'd have to say a big role in it. There's quite a few teams from the Bay Area, and back then there was even teams from the Bay Area. Guys like Mark Gong, you know, they're the type of people that actually help make the sport grow. He's always he's a kid to me, you know, because I'm an old guy, obviously. But he's always been a good kid. From the first day I met him and he came on the team, I took him down to Orlando with me. You know, it just, everything about Mark Gong is what I like to see in people. And it was a privilege to be his friend, actually. And it was a privilege to have him on my team. He listened, he played hard, and he was just good off the team. You know, he was a jokester, but fun is fun. Everybody was joking around. We loved that part of it. So that's what kind of made us a family.
He says if you come out on the 28th, you're going to see a bunch of your old friends.
You know, I just might do that.
Ted Martinez says that you're the true icon.
Well, Ted, I appreciate that very, very much. I really never look at it that way, but coming from you means a lot, though. Take my word.
Another question, what about Mike Sinatra?
Mike Sinatra.
The history of Mare Island Field.
All
Changed the world, as you know.
All right, we wanted to bring a Bay Area Open out here, and we wanted a field to do it at. And so there was a spot out by the highway on the way to Petaluma that I thought would be perfect. So I went to the city of Vallejo, and it was a tough fight with them. They didn't want to do it. It was just like a swampland. But anyhow, eventually they gave me permission to do it. You know, I had to get the $1 million worth of insurance and everything that went with it. And I got hold of Jim Lively, and we set everything up to do it. And the tournament went off really good. It was terrific. Then afterwards, I went to the city of Vallejo, and I asked them, I says, can I go ahead and start a field there? And they says, no, there's no way. Well, then a couple months later, next thing I hear, Mike Sinatra had been pushing him, and he had gotten the field.
So it worked out good. And, you know, I still went out there and played. I still went out and met the people. I had nothing against Mike. You know, he was just business. That's all it was, period. It's strictly business. And that's where we took, and I did the thing for the guy.
The kid.
The kid.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something that's funny is I did a thing for this kid. I think I should tell a story.
Yeah, we'll save it. We can save it.
Oh, you want to save it? You want
We're
to
gonna save
I
that.
think we should tell it.
No,
Okay,
no, let me
let's
say it real quick. I get a call from a lady, and she tells me her name, and she asks. She says, "I have a son that is not doing real good, but his biggest dream is to play paintball with you. Oh no, to meet you, just to meet you." And my first question to her was, "How did you get my number?" Because my number was supposed to be pretty secretive. Well, and believe it or not, I didn't know for what, 20 years, 25 years? And Kikko gave her my number, okay? So obviously he didn't snitch on himself until just a while ago. But anyhow, she called me, she goes, he wants to meet you. His birthday is coming up in a week and a half, and she goes, I was wondering if there's any way I could pay you to come and meet him. And I told her, I said, well, first of all, I said, you couldn't pay me for something like that. I says, give me his name, and I'd like his doctor's name, if you don't mind. So she gave me that, and I says, and leave me your phone number, and I says, and I'll get back to you. So anyhow, afterwards, because you know, I got all kinds of people calling me to do things, and you know, I was very, very touchy of what I did because I wanted to keep it all on the up and up. So I call his doctor, and his doctor says, yeah, he was in rough shape. He was a good kid. I got his picture in here someplace, in one of those. And so anyhow, I called his mother back, and I told her, I says, yeah. I said, I'd be happy to meet him. I go, when's his birthday? She goes, a week from this coming Wednesday. I says, well, can you have him come down to Mare Island? She goes, well, he doesn't drive, but he has a friend that drives that can bring him down. And I says, all right, well, I says, I'll tell you what. I says, you have him down here at 10 o'clock in the morning next Wednesday on his birthday. And she goes, oh, thank you very much. So we hang up and yada, yada, yada. So I started thinking, you know, this kid doesn't have anything, doesn't have a lot of money, and he's not in the best of health. So I think I'm going to do something for him. So I call up all my sponsors, everything that I wear, Schultz, Automag, Airgun, just everybody. And I told them what was going on. And they says, Freddie, what do you want us to do? And I says, I'd like you to send him an exact replica of what I used to play. And lo and behold, every one of them sponsors sent me exactly what I had. Well, this kid doesn't know any of this yet, and his mother doesn't know either. Matter of fact, I don't even think Kikko knows. Yep. So anyhow, so I got that all set up, and then I call up Channel 7 News and tell them about it, and they go, yeah, we'd definitely like to be there and check it out. So the day the kid shows up, he comes pulling up and gets out of the car, and it was pretty interesting. You know, he was kind of white as a ghost when he walked up to me, you know. My first thing, I introduced myself, obviously, and I told him, I said, just relax, man. I said, you know, I says, I'm no better than you are. I said, we're just here to have a good time. And he goes, I am so proud to meet you. And I go, well, I'll tell you what. And he says, you know, I says, there's a trailer over there. I said, I want you to go in that trailer and change your clothes. He goes, change my clothes? I said, just take my word for it. Go do it. So he goes in there. He comes out. He had a tear in his eye, too, from the stuff that we'd given him. And as a matter of fact, it was hard for me not to have a tear in my eye when I watched him. He came out, and he was dressed, he looked like mini-me. He was dressed exactly like me. It's one of these pictures in here someplace. And so anyhow, we took pictures, and Jerry Brown from Paintball Sport magazine put him and I on the cover of the magazine. And it's one of those, I don't know which one it is. Yeah. And anyhow, I took him out, and we played paintball. And he had such a terrific time. And we played all day, a few games, and then I sent him home. He had all his stuff exactly like I did. And then that night I'm sitting at home, and I get a call from his mom. And his mom was crying, saying that he had had the best time of his life, and she didn't know how to thank me for that. And I told her it wasn't me, it was everybody involved. It was the people that came out to help support him. It was my sponsors that sent everything, put it together quickly. Now I'm talking a week here now, and got it out to me for him to do that. And I just, I gotta tell you, I was overwhelmed myself. So I talked to her for about 10 minutes, and she thanked me, and I wished her Godspeed, and said I'd say a prayer for him. And that was it. But then I never know who gave her my number. And then I found out who the sneaky little person was. Yeah. So, no names, no names. Right, Kiko?
Yep.
Okay.
Humanitarian.
So anyhow,
And
that was one of the neat things in paintball that I got to do.
your
And,
affiliation with the Ronald McDonald House.
We
we already did that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you
Man,
you were
see,
walking around.
Yeah, okay.
I
See,
love
I am.
going and doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, way to go, Kiko. Way to keep up with current events. Hold on
Like
here.
we said, we're working with Fred on trying to catalog all the memorabilia he has, and there's just a stack of stuff.
Well, what they want to do is they want to do a biography on me, and I think that we might be. I was a little hesitant on it. I didn't know if I wanted to do something like that, but the biography on Fred Schultz will not be as much on Fred Schultz as it will the people that touched Fred Schultz, that had been with Fred Schultz, that had played with Fred Schultz, that had taken me places, that had met me, that I'd had dinner with. That's what I think the biography will be about. A lot of my sponsors, they weren't just sponsors, you know. I'll say Brass Eagle was just a sponsor other than J.J. Brookshire. But guys, the other guys, you know, like Todd Nestler from Vents Goggles, Dan Colby, Air America, just all those guys, you know, they were my friends. They were nothing short of terrific. I just don't even know. Cleo and Paul, you know, they did the big game. We had the world's largest game. And that was back in Pennsylvania. It was nothing short of terrific. There was 2,600 people there. It was unbelievable. Yeah, and then afterwards we did a show. They had a big semi there. I went up and did a show with Karen, which was one of their employees. We did a terrific show. Had a paintball eating contest. And, yeah. It was pretty cool. And they had a target shooting contest, and I'd won the target shooting contest because, like I say, I love the Automag, and I didn't even want to enter it. But Tom Kay was there. Tom Kay is the owner of Automag, and he's like, Freddie, get up there and shoot the damn thing. And I said, all right, Tommy, I'll do it. So I get up there, and I hit 18 out of 20 shots with the Automag. So anyhow, we're doing a show, and I don't know who won it, you know, because there was a whole line of people that were taking a shot. So anyhow, to make a long story short, I had ended up winning it. They gave me a card, and they brought the Automag out, and they go, and the winner of the target shoot is Fred Schultz. Well, obviously, I do not want to keep this. It is a terrific prize, and I was very happy that I won it, but I couldn't keep it. And I looked down in front of me, in front of the stage that I'm on, and there's probably every bit of maybe 1,500, 2,000 people still out there. This is after the big game. And there's a kid standing there with his father. And this kid, every word I'd say, he was clapping. He was just the greatest little guy. He had to be like 10 years old. So anyhow, so I look down there and I point to him. I go, hey, come on up here, partner. And his dad looks at me and he looks at the kid. And the kid looks at his dad and I go, yeah, you. I says, come on up here. So dad ushers him up. He comes up on stage. And I go, Tom sponsors me. Tom K sponsors me from Automag. So I actually get all my markers for nothing. And this is a big prize, and this is something that I think is special, and I want to give it to this gentleman right here. And I gave it to the kid. And the kid was overwhelmed, and I was actually overwhelmed too, that he was in the front and I actually got to give it to him. And so then after everything was over, the show was done, I got down off the stage, and the kid's father came over to me, and he shook my hand, and he told me, he says, you know, Fred, he goes, one thing that my son will remember his entire life, and that is getting up on that stage and you giving him that Automag. He says, I have never, ever expected anybody as popular as you are to be that classy and that good to the kids. And he goes, I thank you very, very much. And I got to tell you, that touched me. I just, I didn't even know what to say. I just thanked him, told him I was glad that it worked out that way. Told him I couldn't believe I won the target shooting contest. And I guess it all worked out pretty good for everybody concerned. And that was a super weekend. Tom Kay and I, we had a pretty good time together that weekend.
Dirk Adberry says thank you for.
No, that's hold on. Yeah, Dirk Adberry says thank you, CP Springboard for my pro players. Much love and respect. Mark Gong. Well, he wrote a book here.
Yeah.
Mark Gong says, just like what Dirk said, thank you for everything you did for the sport, and thank you for the kind words. My pride isn't hurt anymore. Ask him if he remembers the quote that was from MGM Studios when I went headfirst into the planter box and my tipment went flying and skidded on the ground about 15 years ago.
Now, I don't remember the quote, but I actually remember the fall. And I actually watched the show again just a few weeks ago. And yeah, that was a pretty good fall. You did it gracefully. Out of a possible 10, I think I'd have to give you 11 on that one because you really did a good job going down. But we actually won that game. When we played there, we'd won the first game. And then I sat the second game out and did the announcing and let Randy Camilla go play. And manufacturers actually won the second game. Randy Boucher pulled a flag. Randy Boucher is from Paintball News. He was a heck of a little player. I mean, him and Juvie, they were just terrific people, always treated me terrific. I wrote articles for him every month. I was a West Coast editor for him. But yeah, Mark, I remember that. And like I say, to all you guys, to everybody out there that's watching this, everybody that I've got to not just play paintball with, but got to meet, I want you to know how special that all was for me.
What about Mike Baird?
Mike Baird, a great kid. I got a picture in here actually of me and Mike Baird standing together. You know what sucks is we both looked young. Obviously he was younger. But yeah, I've got a picture of my albums right here of Mike and I standing together. Mike was always a classy kid. You know, I liked his dad. I liked him. He was always a terrific player. And he was just the type of person that you wanted in the sport, as far as I'm concerned. You know, he was not only a good player, he was friendly, he was courteous, and he was just a joy to be around. Like I say, I got a picture in here, and we're both smiling, so that tells you something. I didn't take pictures of people I didn't like.
Okay. We got a second delay. How you feeling talking? You like it?
I'm good, yeah. We could start winding this down a little bit.
Okay, you want to wind it down?
Yeah. And not that we can't do it again. We can definitely do this again because I got to tell you, I enjoyed it. And one thing everybody out there I really enjoyed was hearing from you. Now, Freddy the Ref here, he works really hard at doing this stuff. He's a good kid. I've only known him for just a while, but what I know of him is what I like of the sport. And I would like all you people that have his blog and watch his stuff to tell other people about it. Tell them to hook up to him. You know, he needs to really go nationwide, and he can do it with your help. You know, it's hard for anybody to get anything started like this. And a guy that really devotes his time, because when you devote your time to this, you're taking a lot of time away from your family. Period. You know, I mean, I traveled 3 weeks out of the month, so I was home one week a month. So don't think it isn't demanding on the family just as much as it is on the person that's doing it. But Freddy the Ref, I think, is a terrific guy. I would like to have everybody out there, everybody that's listening, all my old manufacturers, all my old friends and stuff, would you please help him promote his site? He's a good man. He does nothing but good for the sport. And give him a shout out here, will you? I think you guys will be very, very happy with what he puts out there because it's all terrific.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And remember always, please, play hard, play safe, play fair. Fred Schultz.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to share. Please join me on Facebook and Instagram. I also have a Patreon account in case you would like to become a Patreon. All the links are listed down below. Thanks for watching.